Hello, my name is Omar Ishmael, and today I'm going to be putting together and sharing a bit about a session called Targeting Your Audience with Data Driven Insights. I'm working on behalf of the Corso Italia BI to help businesses and entrepreneurs alike interested in learning more about the people who live and visit this area that is called Corso Italia. The focus of the presentation will cover a couple key details about one, the businesses in the community, so that'll factor into a business inventory, and what opportunities are available to businesses within the Corso Italia BA and the potential new entrepreneurs looking to open up shop in our community. Number two, the next thing we want to cover is who's visiting the Corso Italia BIA. So what this would cover is data about both the residential visitors, so the people who live in the surrounding area within the BIA's boundaries, and the people who are coming from throughout Toronto to visit the BIA. We'll also share some details about of regional visitation, so people who are coming from different regions outside of the GTA to visit or move through the Corso Italia BIA. And one other thing that we want to also highlight is that what we want to do is really provide a deep set of data to help make sense of who these people are, whether they be residential visitors or visitors from throughout Toronto. And what we'll cover is demographic information, expenditure information, including their spending habits, what they do on their free time, and social values and psychographics, which really is a way to help understand what they do, but more importantly, how they feel about certain things. So the values that inform their decision making, whether it be their day-to-day activities or their spending patterns. And then lastly, we'll wrap up some of this presentation and really package this information so that we'll speak to the opportunities and the analysis that allows you to maybe make more informed decisions about your marketing or expansion efforts for your business. So we'll really synthesize those opportunities for you as well. So before we go too deep into the data, the area that we're going to be speaking to is the Corso Italia BA. Corso Italia can be found in Toronto on St. Clair Avenue West between Lansdowne Avenue to the west and Westmount Avenue to the east. Corso Italia has a relatively balanced retail mix with many of the services that any business or customer would need for their day-to-day operations and existence. What this means is you have the options to get the day-to-day needs in your residential area, aka the area in your directly surrounding your home, and this includes a variety of retail options, restaurants, bars, service-based businesses, including the necessary healthcare services and specialty stores. The good thing here is that what you really want for a good retail mix is this balanced set of options for a customer who doesn't have to leave their community to buy the things that they need on a day-to-day basis. So just wanted to flag that, as expected for most communities, we do see that restaurant and bars do take up the lion's share of the number of businesses in the community, with 22% going to restaurants and bars. Personal care is an amalgamation of the things that people do to take care of themselves, like fitness, salons. This includes barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, and all other beauty and aesthetic, personal care services that one would need in their own area. And then 16% is representative of the retail stores in the community, and medical services is 12%, which is a little higher than expected, but it is representative of the larger retail or businesses that have been in this community for some time, but also some of the more large-scale medical buildings in the area as well. And then lastly, some financial services, which include banks, credit unions, among others, and groceries, which includes butcher shops, greengrocers, and convenience shops as well. So, that's a quick highlight in terms of the businesses in the community. And, the one thing that I did want to flag is that there are some products or service offerings that this community is still spending a lot of money on that isn't really represented in this breakdown that I've just shared with you. But what I do notice is that there are some opportunities to really take advantage of that insight. What that means is what business growth opportunities are now available to businesses in the community, but also potential entrepreneurs looking to take advantage of this. So when we look at business growth opportunities, what I wanted to highlight is the products or services that people are spending money on that are not readily available for trade area residents or Corso Italia BIA residents to actually get within their own community. So they're spending money on it, but not in this community. And this presents itself as an opportunity for local businesses as a way to say, hey, you don't have to leave this community to get that thing that you need or that service that you require. The way we organize this information is broken down into two categories: none in the BIA or very few in the BIA. As listed here, you see that for none in the BIA, we see year-round garden supplies and services, hardware, and laundry and dry cleaning services. In the far right column, you can see how much money is being spent per household in the BIA. And once again, this is the trade area, not just that specific small boundary that I showed you, but a larger boundary that I'll show you soon. And that's how much each of those individual households are spending on those services for year-round garden supplies, hardware, laundry, and dry cleaning, all of which really aren't really present within the BI's boundaries. Next, we're looking at very few in the BIA. This includes entertainment, breakfast restaurants, and sports and athletic equipment. So that includes that $913 per household being spent on entertainment, meaning there are limited entertainment options for people of all ages to experience. And this is an opportunity, of course, to consider, as it's important for BIs in general, but communities in general, to have opportunities to have nightlife and general entertainment options to keep people engaged in the local businesses so that they have something to also do in that area rather than having to make entertainment being a sole thing that they have to leave their community for, making it a destination within our community instead. Next, we have breakfast and restaurants. Typically, breakfast and restaurant options are not a thing that's highly represented in a chart like this, specifically because most restaurants will likely provide those services in a very limited fashion, but not highlight that as a key offering. But one restaurant, I believe, only exists within the boundaries that provides this service. So it's important to consider if your business already provides or is looking to provide more restaurant options that provide, provide more breakfast options in your area or provide more breakfast services in your business. This is an opportunity to flag that in your marketing efforts and highlight that further, as everyone needs breakfast in your community, in all communities. So there's an opportunity here to consider. And then lastly, sports and athletic equipment. With a relatively high spend on sports and athletic equipment, with $362 being spent in this area, it does present itself once again as an opportunity where people are needing of these services, these products. And, it's important to flag. It may seem as if these items aren't really being spent a lot when you see hardware at $19.80 per household, or laundry and dry cleaning services being spent of only $198 per household, not seeming like a lot. But I think it's important to factor in that we're comparing that against per household, which for Corso Italia has 6,122 households. So all of these do present themselves as sizable and considerable opportunities for existing businesses to consider, hey, is this a thing I can start to introduce into my business? Or if I already provide these services or products, can I further highlight that for my business as well? And if you're a new business to the community looking to set up shop or has recently set up shop, this is an important thing to factor into your marketing efforts and your service or product offerings, as this is a thing that is yet to be really fulfilled within the community that could totally be highlighted in your efforts to promote your business, whether it be launching or expanding or setting up shop in the BIA. So for the next bit, I'm going to move my camera off the screen so that you can fully see some of the data that we're working with. And we'll cover some more information on the visitation and who's really visiting this community as well. So up next, we have the Corso Italia visitors from census metropolitan areas, generally referred to as CMAs. But as you can see, these are just some of the communities that we could see across the GTA and the surrounding area of Toronto. When we look at the visitation to Corso Italia, we see, obviously, as we should expect, majority of the visitations are coming from Toronto. But over the years, which is highlighted between 2019 in the blue bar graph columns there, and on the red side being represented by the year 2022, we are able to see a bit of a change in visitation in many of these communities. So for Mississauga, we've seen a significant decrease in visitation from 7 to 3% over the last few years, while Etobicoke saw a double increase of double of visitation. That includes a significant jump to 12% as of the year 2022. We saw an increase in visitation from York as well, meaning specifically this is York as in the area that's represented by Corso Italia's larger CMA. With seeing that 4% jump since 2019 in that York district within Toronto that includes Corso Italia BA, one of the assumptions that can be made is that there was an increase in local shopping during the pandemic, which is expected across the board in all communities. But I think the opportunity here is how do we ensure that over the next few years that that number doesn't stagnate or decrease, but instead decreases? And how can we ensure local shoppers continue to shop locally as opposed to leaving their community? Additionally, we've seen a slight decrease in visitation from Brampton, Scarborough, as well as Unionville and Woodbridge. However, we did see a 1% increase in visitation from North York as well. Also, when we're looking at visitation from outside of Toronto, we've seen a significant decrease across the board, with Peel region losing 5% over the last few years, as well as seeing a decrease from many other areas from across the regions outside of Toronto. So that includes Halton, Simcoe, Hamilton, Waterloo, Niagara, Ottawa, Middlesex. There was a change up in many instances where we've seen minor decreases, specifically in the case of Durham, Halton, and also seeing a slight decrease in areas where a 1% drop led to Ottawa going from 1% visitation to the Corso Italia BA to 0%. So what does this all really mean? We're hearing data about people who are within Toronto visiting the Corso Italia BA, as well as data about people who are coming from outside of Toronto visiting the Corso Italia BA. The numbers change, but what we've learned from this information is the following. When we consider all who visited the Corso Italia BIA in that general area in 2022, the number of visitors from the Peel region area is the highest outside of Toronto, meaning we have a lot more people than expected coming from Peel region to visit Corso Italia. 12% of communities from within the GTA that visited Corso Italia came from Etobicoke, while 9% came from within that trade area. So once again, pretty shocking number there, where we have 12% of people from within the GTA coming from as far as Etobicoke, as opposed to that 9% that's coming from local shoppers in that general district that is York. Among other things, we've noticed that despite some of the feelings and notions of many of the people who represented the people who moved out of Corso Italia, moving to Woodbridge, communities such as Woodbridge only make up 1% of visitors to the trade area. And also, as I mentioned earlier, North York has seen an increase in visitation as well. But the one thing that I did want to really flag is that, as I mentioned earlier, the people that shop the most at Corso Italia-based businesses are coming from outside of that trade area. And although we've seen an increase over the last few years since the pandemic of local shopping in York, that York district in Toronto, I think there's still an opportunity to ensure that that number doesn't stagnate or decrease over the years and rather increases. And due to proximity, these customers, if targeted effectively, are likely to frequent businesses in the BA more often, and they also may represent that target customer base that has walked by your business to date, but has yet to shop or rarely enter. And you want to find ways to really figure out how to get those people to not only enter your business, but become those frequent customers that rely more on your services rather than leaving the community to find another business to fulfill those necessary day-to-day needs.